Duty, honor, country dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, what you will be.
The destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals.
Now, we are the masters of our fate.
Howdy, gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Wolf and Iron podcast. I'm your host, Mike Yarbrough, founder and curator of wolfandiron.com, and I'm glad you're here. I really am glad you guys are here. This is our special man-to-man episode, so if you're tuning into one of these for the first time, this is where I talk to you guys about something that I think men need to hear about, something that's on my mind and on my heart, and I want to share with you guys. And I believe this one is really, really important, actually, especially in our day and age. And I want to talk to you guys specifically about the proper way to defend masculinity, because it's under attack. And it's been under attack for some time, but we see it every week, it seems, at least several times a month. And I know you guys see this as well. Something comes across your social media feed, which is essentially our news feed these days, where some professor's talking bad about masculinity, or some campus has some kind of crusade or something like that that's going on that's anti-man, or it's anti-gender in some kind of way. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second as I sort of set the stage for how this discussion typically goes. But we need to know how we should properly defend masculinity. And the reason that I'm putting this episode together is because we don't really do it in the best way currently. And there are really two ways to go about it that I think are really good, but the typical way we do it is not helpful. Before I jump into this, though, I want to tell you guys about a couple of things. The first one is our Facebook group. Guys, we're having some great conversations over here, and I want you guys to be a part of it. If you've been listening to this podcast, if you're getting something out of this podcast and you're thinking, man, where can I find guys like this? Well, you can find them in our Facebook group, and you can become a member of that group by heading over to wolfandiron.com/the group, and that'll take you over to the Facebook group page. There'll be a few questions for you to answer. These questions really help us weed out the guys that aren't a good fit. So if you don't answer the questions, you're not going to get in. So answer the questions. You'll be a part of the group. The second thing is I wanted to tell you guys about our Wolf and Iron store. So the store's been up now since November of last year. We've got a few T-shirts out there, and I really want you guys to go over there, not only just because I've got my book out there, The Guy's Guide to Pocket Knives. We've got a cool sticker pack. We've got some T-shirts and stuff like that. But I want you guys to be a part of this thing as it grows, because especially for anybody who's an entrepreneur, it's always great to just see something new taking off and kind of how does it develop and how does this thing get off the ground. And I get questions pretty often on, hey, Mike, how does Wolf and Iron do money? How does that happen? What's the process here for that? How do you grow Wolf and Iron? Questions like that I get pretty often. And so I want you guys to be a part of that and actually just go over there. So as we add new products, you guys are going to get information on those. We'll send an email out and that kind of stuff. But head over to the website store.wolfandiron.com. and you'll be able to see all the goods that we have out there. But you'll also be able to sign up out there and get notified when something new shows up. Okay, now how do we defend masculinity in our day and age? Let me set the stage for you a little bit. This happens at least once a week for me. Maybe it's more for me just because people forward stuff, just because of the area, the field that I'm in with Wolf and Iron. But I imagine that it happens to you guys a few times a month, I would say. We get some kind of email or we see some social media thread happening, a discussion, an argument, where something's happening at a college usually, or something's maybe happening even in your kids' schools, where traditional masculinity and femininity are under attack. Now, femininity is a little bit different, even though we can use some of these same arguments to help bolster up femininity. But you guys probably have noticed that nobody's going after women in the same kind of very direct way that they are after masculinity. And so femininity is under attack, but it's under attack in a different kind of way. It's basically telling women that they're not doing enough, they need to do more, and that they need to get out from under this sort of oppressive idea of what it means to be a housewife, a woman in the traditional sense, and those kinds of things. But we're men, we're going to talk about masculinity. masculinity is really coming under more of a direct attack. And it comes in a number of different forms. It may look something like this. We'll see an article where somebody is saying that we shouldn't allow boys to be aggressive or have video games that are aggressive or anything that promotes the sort of competitive spirit that's typical in a guy. Because if we do, they'll just grow up to be abusive people, domineering, and they'll start wars and all these terrible things will happen. Or maybe we see an article come across where a new college campus outreach program of some kind is talking about how we don't need traditional genders anymore and how your biological gender doesn't really follow your gender identity, and that anybody who holds strongly to traditional ideas of what's good for men and what's good for women and how men should behave and the things that men are responsible for and women are responsible for, well, we're just really part of this old, tired, dying breed that just needs to go away. And that if we continue to look at the world through that lens, well, once again, there's going to be more war, there's going to be abuse towards women, all these terrible things are going to happen. Or maybe you see another promotion for skinny jeans, or you see a guy who's just an absolute buffoon in a commercial, and people are kind of making fun of that. We actually had something come across just on my personal Facebook page. I probably should have posted it to the group because this would have been really good for discussion. But there's this commercial, this advertisement going on out there for, I don't know, whiskey and lace or something like this. I don't know what it's about. Don't go look it up. It's not good. But the guy is such a poser. The guy in this video, literally the ad starts with, it's a video ad, and it starts with this guy. He's got this giant beard and like a sort of a man bun kind of thing going on, and a couple tattoos. And you know this because the ad starts with him taking off his shirt, and he looks like such a poser. And he's out there like chopping wood, like looking like way off into nature. And anybody who chops wood knows this guy can tell this guy doesn't know what he's doing, right? And what's funny though is that the comments in the advertisement, there's like hundreds of comments, and it's all just women saying like, this guy's so sexy, he's so hot, and all this other kind of stuff, right? So we had a good discussion on my personal Facebook page about why I hate this commercial. But however it is that it comes across, you and I know that the idea of traditional manhood, masculinity as we think of it here at Wolf and Iron, and as we pursue it in our own individual lives is under attack. And here's what guys do wrong a lot of times. The intentions are right, but the way they go about it is not right, and how they defend masculinity. And it usually sounds something like this. We need men to be strong because men have to do the rough work. We've got to be the guys out there building the houses, pouring the concrete, fighting the wars, and so on. And usually our natural defense of masculinity is somehow baked into the things that we do. Okay. And that traditionally men do better than women because of our physical differences. Now, this makes a lot of sense to us as guys because we value what we do. We think, well, I have purpose in the world because of what I do. If I'm not doing something that's adding value, then what am I here for? Right. That's how we traditionally think about ourselves as men. And so we start our line of defense in that way as well. Here's the reason why it doesn't really work a lot of times. You guys may have noticed that the world in which we live, and I'm speaking specifically to the Western world, America, has become more and more tame, right? I mean, we're not setting up, trying to build a cabin out in the wilderness, defending ourselves from Indians and marauders and illnesses and things like that in the same way we used to. Now, men need to be protectors. We absolutely do. We need our strength. We absolutely do. But a case can be made that a person could grow up in today's day and age not needing a whole lot of strength and be able to do well for themselves. Now, there's reasons why I would argue against that, primarily for health reasons and things of that nature. But as we become more of a button-pushing kind of world and there's more automation, the argument that we need men to be manly or traditional kind of masculine because of certain jobs that are around doesn't really hold water like it used to. And I can imagine a not too distant future where we've got robots that do a lot of these things. And this may sound like sci-fi and crazy, but hopefully you guys can see that this day is coming when there's just robots, and I'm not talking about freaking cyborgs that come out. There's robots and humans together. machines of some kind that basically come out and build your house for you, or machines that come out and or robots of some kind that go out and fight our wars for us, right? And it may be that it's the skinny guy with the quick hands and the sharp wit that's good at video games that does better on the battlefield than it is the guy who's strong and fast and has all this athleticism. I can see that happening. And I can even see that women would be good at managing this sort of virtual robot fighting world. And this is a terrible idea, right? I mean, and not women being fighters, but it's a terrible idea, this whole like apocalyptic kind of future where robots are doing this stuff. But everything from mining and building homes to any kind of rough work, any kind of assembly stuff where we would have typically looked to men to do because of our natural inclinations and strength towards it. As we begin to automate a lot of this stuff, really it's a push of a button type of thing. And just about anybody can do it. So I think there are some flaws in the way we defend masculinity. I want to talk to you guys about two ways that I think we can go about it. That's one, I think it makes us sound really intelligent about how we defend masculinity. I think it really opens up the conversation. It doesn't put us on the defensive. And I think the way of going about this is going to have a lot more longevity. And it actually ties very well into femininity as well. So women can actually use these same approaches in the defense of femininity. So the first one is this. And it's a little bit of a fluffy kind of way of going about it, but bear with me here because it's key. We need masculinity because of masculinity itself. It is the thing that is its own defense. If you really want to know how to defend what it means to be a man, masculinity, show somebody what it looks like to be a man. Show a man living his life out as he's called to do, balancing. I don't want to say balancing is probably not the right word because it's not a 50-50 split here in terms of a man balancing his feminine side and his masculine side. That's not the way it goes. But having an appropriate ratio or appropriately understanding his male side, his maleness, and really leaning towards that heavily, but also having, compassion in the things that we would usually consider feminine, nurturing and whatnot. But have a man live these things out. That in itself is a tremendous defense of masculinity. And I want to tell you guys why. It's almost like having a discussion about why do we need art? Why is it necessary? Well, art is beautiful. It's its own defense. You see it and you go, that's amazing. Masculinity is the same way. Femininity is the same way. When you see it being enacted, you go, that's amazing. Men are inspired by femininity and masculinity, and the same is true for women. I'll use an analogy that may help a little bit. Imagine that you're a cultured individual and you're going to go to listen to a symphony play, and you're excited. You go there, maybe got your wife with you. You're dressed up, you're looking forward to the occasion. And you look down on the stage and you just see where the violins normally are, where the string section is just pianos. And then where the brass section is also pianos. And then where the woodwinds would be is pianos and so on. And you think, did I come to the right place? This is not what I was looking forward to. And the conductor comes out and he says, hey guys, listen, I know you guys are here for the traditional symphony kind of way of doing things. But as we thought about it, we said, a piano can play the same notes as a violin or as a cello or as a woodwind can do. And really, isn't that more fair? We don't want the violins to have sort of their moment and to be able to do things that the pianos can't do and so on. So we've just decided to just get rid of all the other instruments and just replace them with the pianos. I mean, at the end of the day, they're all playing the same notes and it's going to sound amazing. Just you wait and see. Now, of course, this would be ridiculous. But here's where we are in society. When we talk about masculinity and when we talk about femininity, and we're trying to describe that, we're trying to define that and defend that, it's like going to somebody who has never heard a violin and trying to tell them what that's about. Imagine going to someone who's never heard a violin and they get this argument from the conductor that says, we're just going to use pianos. Well, they don't care. They don't know any better. They get to see all these pianos playing. Maybe it's going to be something amazing. And think about it. How would you actually define why we need violins, cellos, piccolos, flutes, you name it? Why do we need these things in an orchestra. Now define that. Try to exercise here of defining that for someone who has never heard an instrument, never heard one of these before. You can't hum, you can't do it through humming, right? You might say, well, they play softly, or they play, very strongly, or they have this very kind of cool reverberation to them. But what does that do? That doesn't help anyone who's never heard it, right? We're in a place today in society where many of the boys and the girls that are growing up, and many of the men and women who have grown up, have never seen a man living his life as a man ought to live. They've never seen true masculinity. And so the best defense is to show it to them. You could try to explain all day long to somebody why we need violins, why we need a string section and a brass section and woodwinds and all that. And you would get nowhere. But you let them see it, you let them hear it, and they'll get it. They'll understand it. The same is true for masculinity. When you see it, it is its own defense. And I would simply say, when someone says, we don't need men is not something, I would say, if you're saying that, you've never seen a man. You've never seen a man living his life out. You've seen abusive people. You've seen people doing bad things. You've seen bad humans. But you've not seen a man living his life as he ought to. So that's one. Here's the other piece. We need masculinity for men. We actually need it for men. And I don't mean like we need it in some sort of ethereal kind of way. We need it actually biologically. We need masculinity for men. Biologically, men need to be masculine and do masculine things. Otherwise, you're going to see a culture of just wrecked guys. Absolutely wrecked. Stressed out, depressed, you name it. And we are seeing that, by the way. You want to talk about the shooters that are going on. You want to talk about the crime that's happening. You want to talk about the guys that flip out and that rape women, that rob places, that do terrible things. A lot of times you're looking at guys that just don't know how to live as a man, how a man ought to live. They've had only bad examples. They don't know how to live their life in a state of true masculinity. And all of their emotions, hormones, they're looking for an outlet. They're looking for a way to be a man, to do something that makes them feel masculine and be satisfied in some kind of way. Wrong things. They're doing wrong things. I'm not excusing this in any kind of way. But biologically, men need to do masculine things to be healthy. And guess what? Women need to do feminine things to be healthy as well. Men need to be competitive. We need to feel successful. Men need to be respected. I'm not saying we demand respect, but biologically, when we feel respected, there's all kinds of amazing hormonal things that take place. And when a man goes into his home and he just feels like he's just another cog in the wheel, just like he does at work, and he's not respected, or he goes to work and he's not respected, it hurts us. Men need strength. We need to be strong. We need to exercise our strength. We need to be challenged in our own selves and to see ourselves meeting those challenges, because every time we're successful, we get a testosterone spike. And contrary to what maybe you've heard out there about testosterone, when guys get testosterone, they're better men. There probably is, like anything, a place where you can get to where you've got too much. I get that. But for the most part, the guys that are doing well in the world, that have the energy and that have a certain kind of strength about them, but also a gentleness, these are the guys that are doing well with their testosterone. The guys that are stressed out, that are falling apart, those are the guys that usually have some kind of hormonal imbalance. And usually their testosterone is low, their estrogen's high, or they're just trying to live off of oxytocin. Oxytocin is this thing that's like a feel-good hormone. And so they do things that give them this sort of high. The oxytocin increases, and they think, oh man, this is good. I'm doing the right thing, but they're not. It's momentary. Men need to do manly things in order to feel like men. And if we take away the outlets for them to do that, they're going to find other ways, and probably unhealthy ways, to make that happen. Men need to do manly things so they can be fertile, actually. Can a man be fertile? Is that how it works? A man fertilizes so that a man has enough active sperm guys to go do their thing, to make babies. We're seeing such a drastic increase in society today where men are infertile. And usually the thing that kind of fixes it or gets them back on the right track is they've got to get their testosterone increased, usually through some kind of testosterone injections, or they've got to start wearing like special no underwear or sleeping without, the covers on and this kind of stuff. Things that increase testosterone allow the testes to do what they're supposed to do. But a lot of these things are happening because men don't live as the way we ought to. I mean, you guys know this. You feel drawn to get outside more. You feel drawn to get out of the desk. You want to go for a hike. You want to go lift some heavy things. You want to go split some wood. You want to go chop down a tree. How many opportunities naturally in your normal daily walk of life do you find to do that? Not many, right? Now, add on top of that you've got high schools, grade schools, universities, plus the media, teaching the next generation of leaders that it's actually wrong to do those things. It's wrong to desire those things. Can you imagine if we go down this path where we're going to be in 25 years? So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on how you go about defending what it means to be a man. And just to recap here, the best way to defend it is to live it out, to let people see it. Another way is to say we actually need it for men. Men need it biologically, physically. We need to live as men. Now, I think there's absolutely a case to be made for men being physically strong and stronger than women. I think there's always going to be a need for that. I think that we should never drop our guard, so to speak, on the threats of the world out there. We need strong men. I don't want any country or any Islamic terrorist group looking at America, as they probably do today, and just taking a kind of a glance, going to a coffee shop one day and just see who comes in and who goes by and just look at who's, the state of maleness in America and going, oh yeah, we can take these guys down. I don't want that to be the case. I want people to show up to America and go, oh geez, we can actually learn from these guys, right? That's where I want us to be. And I think there's always a case to be made there. But I do think that it can get us into a rabbit trail of sorts when we try to use that to defend masculinity. These are things that are just good in general for men to be and to do. And it also kind of tends to put us at odds as if we're saying men are this and then women cannot be that. And that's certainly not what we want to say. We just want to say men can excel in this way generally across the board in ways that women typically can't physically. We need men to be the best men they can be. We need women to be the best women they can be. And yes, we want strong women. We want strong men. We want virtuous people across the board. So guys, let me know your thoughts on this. And don't forget, check out our Facebook group. We're having some great discussions about these kinds of things over there. wolfandiron.com/the group. And I look forward to engaging with you guys over there. Until next time, keep your powder dry. And may a fair wind be always in your sails.